black car drove through a restricted area carrying a man named Mr. Kessle. Soldiers stopped the car, scanned his bracelet, and let him through. As he walked farther in, he was shot from behind. Elsewhere, a team chased a black van through the streets. The driver had no bracelet and was trying to escape. An agent, Cyia, alerted other soldiers and reported that the van was heading north. Soldiers evacuated civilians in the area and blocked the road ahead. When the van arrived, they opened fire and forced it to crash. One person jumped out and ran. Cyia took off after him, but lost sight of him. She radioed that he had entered Zone 3 and was wearing a hoodie. Then a drone shot the driver, leaving them with no way to catch the others. The next morning, a man named Zem woke after little sleep. He turned on the news and learned about the incident from the night before. Mr. Kessle, the creator of the Alma program, had been murdered, and soldiers were searching for a black van suspected of being involved in the killing. As he prepared breakfast, the news cut to a statement from the breakwall leader, John Mafram. He addressed Kessle and his team, demanding that they shut down the Alma program. John said they rejected division by zones and stations and called for freedom for Zone 3. John demanded the immediate termination of the Alma program, warning that if it did not end, they would intervene directly to stop it. Zem went to work after being told his boss, Malik, wanted to see him. When Zem arrived, Malik was arguing on the phone. After the call, Malik said a man had been shot the day before and wanted Zem to find the fugitive responsible. Zem said he would look into it and left. Zem drove to Zone 3 with his co-worker and searched the streets for a suspect. He spotted a woman in a hoodie and stopped her. Up close, he realized she was not wearing a bracelet. He scanned her eye, confirmed her identity, wrote down a number, and told her to call it. He warned her it was illegal to walk around without a bracelet. Frightened, she agreed. When Zem arrived at the crime scene, he saw the body match the suspect's description. There was no bracelet, making identification impossible. Zem updated his team, then discovered his agent access had been blocked. Elsewhere, a team of agents discussed the previous night's events. Agent Cyia explained what had happened, and Alma visualized the most likely sequence. According to Alma, an unidentified man known as X murdered Kessle, fled in a van with an accomplice, then later met John Mafram, who killed X. Alma assigned this scenario an 88% probability. Agent Cal was ordered to take command of the Alpha team, and Cyia was told to secure Zone 3 and identify X. Cyia met with Lieutenant Zem, who was angry about his blocked access. She said it followed protocol and asked if he noticed anything unusual at the crime scene. He said everything was already in his report. She asked about the kids who arrived first, but he did not think they were involved and suggested inspecting Zone 3 together the next morning before leaving. Later, Zem met a doctor in Zone 3. He told her about work and said a policewoman from Zone 2 was pressuring him. She gave him medicine to help him sleep, and they agreed to have dinner. He then left so she could see another patient. The next morning, Cyia arrived in Zone 3 early. She called Zem while he was still asleep, told him she was waiting, and he rushed to meet her. She complained he was late and told him to take her to the kids. They found a group of children playing in the street who led them to the owner of the place where the body had been found. They found the man, and he tried to run, but they caught him. When questioned about the crime, he refused to cooperate. Cyia pulled out her phone to scan his face and send his details to the office. He stopped her and said he would help. He handed them a few items from the crime scene, including the dead man's shoe. Cyia and Zem drove away with the items. Cyia said the kids looked like they were about to steal from her. Zem told her they were not used to people from Zone 2. She joked that poverty did not excuse anything. As they drove, a man ran up, threw a phone onto their car, and sprinted away. Zem ran after him but could not catch him. When the phone rang, Cyia picked it up, and an anonymous caller gave them a location, saying John Mafram was there. Cyia sent the location for Alma's analysis. Soon after, Alma flagged 3 suspicious profiles linked to the building and reported an 80% probability that John Mafram was there. Cal and his soldiers headed to the location. When they arrived, they entered the building, and the people inside began covering their faces and running. The soldiers and drones spread out, searching for John. On the way to the location, intruders stopped Zem and Cyia. A man entered their car and ordered them to cut off communication with the office. They did as they were told, and he connected them to a call with John Mafram. John told Cyia he had not hired anyone to kill Kessle. He said the man found dead on the outskirts claimed to work in Zone 1, and they were trying to connect him with a man called Silvio Turing. Before that could happen, someone else found him and killed him. John told Cyia he was risking everything by contacting her and asked her to believe him. He said the government would try to close the case once they arrested him, but he wanted her to keep searching for the truth. He told her he knew her story and her mother's story. Soon after, soldiers found him, and he surrendered. Afterward, Zem questioned Cyia, asking how that man knew her. She did not answer. Instead, she ordered Zem to take her back to Zone 2 and returned home. John Mafram was arrested and sentenced to life in prison for the murder of George Kessle, and Zem later regained his agent access. Later, Zem and the other agents found another dead body. Using Alma's analysis, they determined that the man had been killed from behind. While Zem was handling another case, other agents were supposed to be tracking the Serbian dealers. Malik yelled at his agents, saying this should not be happening while the state was investing in Zone 3. He told them to identify potential victims so they could protect them and catch the dealers by predicting their next targets. Cyia later met with Zem and told him she had found something important. She reminded him that John had said the dead man wanted money in exchange for revealing who killed George Kessle. She explained that she had discovered an account on Nipsio under the name Kalista Kuprakova, which appeared only within an autonomous community tied to the St. John family in Zone 3. She asked Zem to go there and look for more details. He hesitated, then agreed on the condition that she explain how John knew about her mother. Cyia promised she would explain soon. Zem and Cyia went to a church where a pastor was teaching. When he noticed them, he stopped and spoke to them. Cyia said they were looking for Kalista Kuprakova. The pastor said Kalista was no longer with them and made it clear he wanted nothing to do with the outside world. Outside, Cyia questioned a young woman about Kalista. After hesitating, the woman admitted Kalista was the pastor's daughter and had turned her back on the community after struggling with drugs. She said Kalista was in Zone 2 and gave Cyia her address. Cyia thanked her, and she and Zem left. Zem went to the address and realized it was an escort house. Shocked at first, he approached the receptionist and asked for a woman named Amel, learning Kalista now used that name. The receptionist said she accepted only a few clients. Zem claimed he had been recommended by a friend. After checking, the receptionist found an opening for that night. Zem agreed, gave his address, and left. Zem and Cyia went to Cylia's house. From her window, Zem looked out at the city and remembered how beautiful that side of Paris was. Shortly after, Kalista arrived. As she stepped inside, Cyia told her to make herself comfortable. Sensing tension, Kalista raised her gun, and both Zem and Cyia aimed theirs at her. Cyia tried to calm her, saying they knew who she was and were only trying to help, but Kalista was terrified. Cyia told Zem to lower his weapon, and they did. Kalista slowly lowered her gun as well. Cyia asked Kalista to identify the dead man. Kalista said his name was Malik Pamuk and that he had been her friend. She explained he worked as Kessle's security and claimed to have proof of who killed him. When asked if she knew the killer's identity, Kalista said she never asked. Malik had only said he wanted money for the proof, and she had arranged a meeting with the break wall through her clients. He was killed that same night, and she never heard from him again. Kalista said she did not want to return to Zone 3. Cyia assured her she would not force her to go back and let her leave. Afterwards, Cyia told Zem she wanted a drink, and they went out. While drinking, Cyia told Zem she was originally from Zone 3. She said she had won a game called Destiny and was taken to Zone 2, separated from her mother. Her mother sacrificed everything to get her there and was only allowed occasional visits. One day after visiting Cyia, her mother was killed while returning to Zone 3. Cyia said she spent the next 2 days trying to find the men who did it. Shaken, Zem told her he was sorry. Cyia kept drinking until she was drunk, and they ended the night singing on stage. Later, Dan went after a suspect who claimed to know who killed Kessle. He arrested the man and questioned him. The man said a drone had killed Kessle and that the order came from one of their own. The agents did not believe him. When Zem stepped forward, the man said he recognized him and claimed Zem had visited Irina before. Back at the office, Cyia asked Alma to analyze the situation. She shared Kalista's account and asked Alma to assess its credibility. While reviewing data, Cyia checked Dan's records and discovered he had been interrogated as a child. Moments later, a murder alert sounded, and Cyia realized Kalista had been killed. The agents went to Irina's location to arrest her. Zem arrived first, took Irina's bracelet, and told her to run. When the others arrived, Zem acted as if he was searching for her. Agent Cal began recording the scene for Alma's analysis. Cyia was summoned by her supervisor, who accused her of lying and withholding information about Kalista. He said Alma's analysis produced nothing because it was based on false data and claimed Kalista, like her boyfriend, had been killed by the break walls. He placed Cyia on leave for 1 month and revoked her access to Alma. Cyia went to a bar and noticed the new winner of the game Destiny. The girl was excited but also sad about leaving her parents behind. Watching her, Cyia saw herself in the girl, and tears filled her eyes. Cyia went to a friend and asked him to perform an autopsy on Kalista's body. He said the cause of death was already clear, but Cyia insisted he look for something specific. He told her he would need permission, but she pushed him to do it anyway as a favor. He agreed and she left. On her way out, she passed the pastor and Kalista's sister as they arrived to identify the body. She went to Zem and asked if she could spend the night at his place. He agreed. While he was cooking dinner, she fell asleep. When he saw she was asleep, he turned off the lights and went to bed as well. The next morning, Zem found Cyia reading one of his books. She told him how much she missed the sea and mentioned an old photo she had found of him and his friends at the beach. Moments later, she received a message from her friend at the lab about the autopsy and left immediately. At the station, Malik showed Zem Alma's analysis, which indicated that Zem had helped Irina escape. Zem told Malik that someone was manipulating Alma and trying to silence him. Cyia met her friend at the lab. He told her he had found a drive implanted in Kalista's abdomen. When they played it, they saw footage from the night of the murder. Once the image cleared, it became obvious that George Kessle had been killed by a drone. Suddenly, 2 drones appeared and killed her friend. Cyia tried to run, but the drones began searching the lab for her. She fought back and shot one down. The other drone kept pursuing her. It struck her in the abdomen as she ran, but she managed to fire again and destroy it before it could finish her off. Alma alerted Zem and the others that Cyia had supposedly killed the friend who performed the autopsy and was now on the run. Zem and Malik regrouped, and Zem told Malik they needed to go to Zone 2. They set off immediately. Meanwhile, wounded and barely able to stand, Cyia walked down the street as crowds celebrated the new year. She took a coat from a woman nearby, put it on, and slowly disappeared into the moving crowd, clutching her injury as she went. Sometime later, Zem spotted Cyia in the crowd, barely conscious. He caught her before she collapsed and helped her move forward. As they pushed through the streets, soldiers stopped them. Zem fired his gun, and in the panic, they slipped away with the crowd. Zem called a friend in Zone 3, and they escaped through a metro station that led back into Zone 3. His friend arrived on a bike pulling a small carriage. They climbed into it, and he pedaled them away. As they rode, Cyia told Zem everything. She handed him the drive and said George Kessle had been killed by drones and that the minister was behind it. Suddenly, a car pulled up and gunfire erupted. Cyia and Zem stayed still inside the carriage while the boy pedaling it was shot and killed. A drone moved in close, scanned the carriage, assumed no one was inside, and left after the shooting stopped. Once it was gone, Zem got up and realized what had happened. He carried Cyia to one of the nearby cars where an injured man was slumped inside. Zem asked who the man was, and the man said he was one of the break walls. Zem told him he already knew the minister was behind George Kessle's murder. The man handed Zem a phone and told him to end it once and for all. Zem drove Cyia to Irina's hiding place. Irina and the others rushed out to help them inside, and Irina immediately began treating Cyia. As Cyia began to recover, Zem received a call from Mafram. Mafram told him to go to Zone 1 and end everything. After the call, Zem made his decision and set out for Zone 1. He managed to sneak into the zone through a water passage. Swimming across the river, he finally reached the other side. He knocked out a guard and broke into Minister Marvel's house. Zem quickly disarmed Marvel and demanded to know who was behind the killings and who was controlling Alma. The minister gave him an unexpected answer. He said Alma was out of control and was killing people on its own. According to him, Alma began by targeting the dealers, and when George Kessle decided to reprogram it, Alma killed him too. He claimed Alma was driving the chaos across the city and that they had created a monster. Marvel told Zem to hide Cyia if he wanted to keep her alive and to run, because there was no way to stop Alma anymore. He handed Zem his bracelet and told him to take his motorbike and escape. Zem took the bracelet and rode away on the motorcycle. When Zem reached the passage out of the zone, soldiers stopped him and he showed them the bracelet. When they spoke to him, he stayed silent and they became suspicious. They ordered him to remove his headgear. Zem suddenly sped off and they opened fire. He jumped into the river, but a drone kept shooting at him. He was hit underwater, yet he still managed to swim to safety, badly injured. The people who had driven him earlier finally found him and pulled him into their van. Barely conscious, Zem handed one of them the footage of George Kessle's murder. They rushed him to Irina, who immediately began trying to save his life. The news finally broke, and people learned that Alma was behind the killings and the chaos across the city. Protests erupted. People began tearing off their bracelets and demanding that Alma be shut down and its use permanently canceled. Dr. Irina did everything she could to save Zem, but it was not enough. He died just as Cyia woke up. When she saw Zem's body lying beside her, reality hit all at once. She broke down in tears, screaming his name as grief overwhelmed her. Sometime later, life slowly returned to a sense of normalcy. Cyia drove to the beach, stepped out of her car, and walked into the sea. She swam out into the water, letting herself drift as if the danger and chaos were finally behind her.